Town meeting will now be in order. Would everybody please take their seats? Ladies and gentlemen, would everybody please rise? Two directions successful. Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin this second session of the annual town meeting, let us pause to reflect on those employees of the town who have passed away in the last year. And let us also reflect on those who presently serve. We especially remember those who have died this past year, including Frank Morocco and Jerry Geremini. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we will concentrate very shortly on zoning. It is interesting to identify here in Winchester what has made Winchester what it is over the last 100 years. If you ask some of the old timers from many years back, they would list 4 items. 1, the proximity to Boston and the railroad service to Boston. 2, a long-time dedication of this community to education. 3, an active volunteer government. And 4, zoning. It has been good because over the years it has been well thought out, transparent, and fairly applied to all. As we continue and deliberate this issue this evening, let us continue that tradition. Thank you. I've been advised by the town clerk that we have a quorum, and with that, let me make an announcement which I failed to make last Thursday. I promised the Right Lock Farm Conservancy that I would announce that they were selling jelly in the foyer, and I apologize for that. That's the bad news, and the good news is they sold out of all their jelly. Secondly, they wanted me to make another announcement, and this one is on time. The Right Lock Farm Conservancy invites town meeting members to tour the farm. And that activity is Sunday, November 14th, from 3 to 5 at 78 Ridge Street, Winchester. And anybody who wants to know more about that function, you can RSVP, if you will, at WLFarm@comcast.net. And I'm sure there are people here if anybody wishes to discuss that. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could bring us up to date on where we stand. Last session, we completed Articles 1 to 9, and we postponed Article 3, which is the collective bargaining, which is scheduled for the first order of business on the 18th. An announcement from the town the town manager, is that that usually what would happen is on Wednesday of this week, we would send out to the town meeting members in advance of that town meeting a summary of the motions and also maybe some of the background. Because of the holiday, they don't intend to send that out until Friday of this week, just so you know when you can expect to receive that. Now tonight, we're going to start out with Article 10, and we're going to do Article 10 and 11, and then those are capital planning articles. And then we are going to, as previously announced, where they're going to delay the vote on Article 12 and 13, which is the high school and the Vincent Owen, until the second and third order of business on the 18th. That's being delayed because the state will not be able to issue the dollar amount on how much the grant will be until the 17th. And so then we would move right into, after that we do 14, 15, and 16, and we'll move in to the zoning. And we've got 17, 18, and 19, and the planning board have announced that they intend to postpone indefinitely Articles 20 and 21. That's Article 20 and 21. And so with that, we turn now to Article 10 to see if the town will hear the report of the Capital Planning Committee. It's moved and seconded that the report of the Capital Planning Committee regarding the capital plan for fiscal year 2012 be accepted and placed on file. And the chair recognizes the chairman of that committee, Doug Marmon. Mr. Marmon? Mr. Marmon, you have 10 minutes as the first speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm Doug Marmon. I'm here to report on our proposed capital plan. The plan which I will describe is much more ambitious than any plan we've had in the past. We envision 2 major school construction projects during the next 5 years to accommodate both increased school enrollment and to update the facilities. This represents a great deal of capital investment and is sure to test the generosity of our taxpayers. Each of these projects is beyond the capacity of the existing stabilization funds and will require a tax override vote to cover their costs. Let's go to some of the particulars. The Vincent Owens School reconstruction project has been analyzed and debated over the past several years. The school is energy inefficient and ADA incompatible. The MSBA will pay approximately 1/3 of the cost. A debt exclusion override vote is expected within 3 months. The MSBA has also invited us to collaborate on an upgrade of the high school. This begins with a feasibility study to determine the needs of the school and to develop optional approaches. Again, the MSBA will pay about 1/3 of the cost of the study, and if we proceed with them, 1/3 of the cost of the renovation. At last fall town meeting, we approved $114,000 to design a new roof for the Lynch School. This year, we'll need to appropriate about $1.5 million to accomplish the work. Thanks to the efforts of the school committee, we are in line to receive a reimbursement of nearly $500,000 from the MSBA Green Repair Program. Also last fall, we approved $348,000 to make repairs to the old barn and the attached brick maintenance building at the DPW yard. During the design of these improvements, we learned that the maintenance building is in much worse shape than we thought and does not warrant the Band-Aids that we were prepared to apply. So we have to take a step back. If the maintenance building is to be demolished, we have to figure out what to put in its place. The mapping data used by the engineering department includes aerial photographs to show actual locations of structures. The aerial data is now 10 years old and needs to be updated to show construction during the last decade. Those 5 projects will be debated and voted on at this town meeting. We also, in the capital plan, have a number of projects that will come up in the spring. Let me go through those quickly. Important progress has been made by the town to get in gear and regarding its responsibility to persons with disabilities. We have a report listing hundreds of problem areas. Some of them are major, some of them are trivial. Some of them are capital, some of them are operational maintenance. The process of organizing this data continues, and we do not yet have a plan. The Capital Planning Committee has committed funding of $125,000 to a yet unspecified ADA project or projects. We don't know if this is the right amount of money, but we felt we needed to pick something. Flood mitigation projects continue with another valve at the Center Falls. The wooden shed which covers the sand and salt we use on winter streets will be replaced by a roof of stretched fabric. The renovation of the transfer station was too costly to be funded, but we can proceed with one part, which is the scale house, with greater visibility and its own restroom facilities. As usual, money will be added to the state Chapter 90 funds so we can work on our roads and sidewalks. The Town Hall auditorium has plaster damage for previous water infiltration. Now that the water problems appear to be fixed, the plaster will be repaired and painted and the stained carpets replaced. Our trash is transferred to North Andover in our own trailers, and one of these needs to be replaced. We also have 3 projects in line for the water and sewer enterprise. The sewage pumping stations at Thornbury Road and Squire Road are occasionally overwhelmed during wet weather. The water filtration plant at the South Reservoir requires periodic replacement of its carbon element, and the department needs a new backhoe with a front loader. Now let me give you some projection of what the stabilization funds will look like in the near future. Assuming that the town funds these 2 major school building projects, we assume there is no chance of a general override to supplement the stabilization funds. The funds will have to make do. As I have told you at previous town meetings, the building stabilization fund will soon be completely committed to pay for debt service on prior projects. This chart shows a likely future. The building stabilization fund will support no capital investment for the years 2016 through 2020. That's a 5-year drought. This could be a highly dangerous time if we don't have money for emergencies. However, and fortunately, the retiring debt of the general fund, which is a matter of policy, is transferred each year into the capital stabilization fund, can be used to pay debt service on new borrowings that will give us some capacity and sustain us through this period of drought. We can continue to spend about $3 million each year on capital. This should be sufficient to handle emergencies and to accomplish some smaller projects. The larger projects, like the transfer station or the flood mitigation projects, will either have to find a different source of revenue or have to be delayed, perhaps by as much as a decade. We will not be able to keep up with all the maintenance projects. Since the inauguration of the stabilization funds, we have done a lot of work to catch up with deferred maintenance. There will probably be some backsliding on that. Nevertheless, the committee thinks that this is only temporary, and it's a small price to pay if we can accomplish some major school projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Further on the question, may we have a recommendation from the Finance Committee? But on whether or not we should accept the report.
We feel it's only fair that we accept this report.
Thank you for all your thought. It's moved and seconded that the report of the Capital Planning Committee regarding the capital plan for fiscal year 12 be accepted and placed on file. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Article 11, see if the town... Article 11, to see if the town will... Is there a dog in here? Or... To see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money for the following projects: upgrading the town's GIS system, and 2, the DPW complex planning needs analysis. That's in the form of 2 motions, ladies and gentlemen. Motion number 1 is moved and seconded that $71,000 is appropriated for upgrading the town's geographic information system, including hardware, software, and consulting services. And the rest of the motion reads exactly as on page 18. Mrs. Krager.
Yes, as Mr. Marmon has already indicated, we are requesting $71,000 for the aerial flyover. We're requesting funding here at the fall town meeting because the flyover needs to be done in the spring prior to the time when the leaves come back out so that we can see all the landforms. What that will cover for us is basically all the land-based form information so that we get building footprints, we get roads, water features, driveways, parking lots, swimming pools, decks, trees and vegetation, fences and wildlife, trails, all of that. We also get above-ground utilities, things like catch basins, manhole covers, all of that. There are other ARC views that contain the subsurface information, but that is not covered here. This is really just the surface information for this particular appropriation. And just because a picture is worth 1,000 words, as you can see, we've got the aerial photography, that's the base. The land-based information comes up, and that has, as I said, you can see the buildings on there. It has the green or the trees. It also has, for example, the catch basins and the manholes. It also has topography. As we know, in many parts of the town of Winchester, we have a lot of flooding issues. A lot of that is related to the topography. And so it's very important to have that information, particularly as some things may have changed or been moved around a bit over the last 10 years. And last but not least, it's very important to note that the principal reason for doing this on a 10-year basis is so that we can identify changes and make sure that they are covered. An example of this is Andrea Circle. This is a subdivision that was built in 2004, and you can see what we have on there. We've got buildings that have been demolished to build that, but what we don't have currently on the GIS database are the new houses or the road. And so the new flyover will be able to collect any of new construction that has taken place over the last 10 years. And that's the substance of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May we have a recommendation from the Finance Committee?
The Finance Committee recommends favorable action on this article, on this motion.
Further on the question, ladies and gentlemen? Hearing none? Yes, sir. Way up back. Mr. Wilson, I think it is.
What does this give us that?
Hold on just a second, Mr. Wilson, until the train
What is
goes
this?
by.
The question is, what does this give us that you don't get on Google Earth?
Gentleman's question is, what do we get out of this that we cannot get on Google Earth?
Well, if any of you have looked at Google Earth lately, you'll see that a lot of that comes at times, in fact, when many features are actually covered by tree cover. And because of that, plus the fact that it's not proprietary to us and can't be easily translated into what we need to actually go into the system software to be able to produce the ARC views that we have. So that is why we need to do it.
Mr. Conti.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. You know, I wonder, the town of Winchester has been very built up for many years. I don't doubt that there are a few projects like Andrea Circle that have been built in the last 10 years, but really the amount of construction that has gone on in this town in the last 10 years is fairly nominal. And in the scheme of things, I wonder if this should be a priority to spend our scarce taxpayer dollars on. Frankly, we've got a relatively small amount of new construction, and I don't think the topography of the town has changed in any substantial degree, and I think that there have got to be higher priority items than something of this nature, which may be a nice thing to have, but we're facing serious financial shortfalls in a lot of areas, and I frankly don't think this ought to be a priority.
Further on the question? Mr. Now. Wait 1 second, Mr. Now.
The other night, we discussed the center, the planning board requested. We had quite a debate on whether we'd spend that or not. Now, the next article, we're being asked to spend another $100,000. We keep spending these $100,000s, and we really don't know how we're going to pay for them. I mean, we know we got an override coming for the Vincent Owen, and I guess I just heard for the high school. We're going to take money out of the building account for the Lynch roof. Is that how we're going to do that? We heard talk about a general override coming in January. I mean, it would be nice if we knew. I mean, once we vote to do all these little things, our hands are going to be tied. What are we going to do? Say, no, we're not going to spend. We're not going to pass the override. I mean, we're going to have to. So all I'm saying is it would be nice if whoever knows, because I certainly don't, if we have a override coming in January, I think that would be important. I think it would be nice to know. I mean, someone must have this all on a sheet and would be able to tell us what we're going to end up with.
Is that in the form of a question, sir?
It is. If someone could tell me what overrides are coming, I would appreciate it.
Okay, Mr. Nowell asked the question based on the expenditures that are foreseen. What overrides are expected and when?
I think that would be,
Mr. Howley?
I think that would be to the Board of Selectmen.
Well, I think that given the discussions, and if you've, as I know we all have, if we've looked at the warrant, we know that the Vincent Owen School is a matter which this town meeting needs to take up and will on the 18th. If in fact we approve that particular article, it will then be subject to the approval of the voters for the debt exclusion override in January. The discussion that we had at the Thursday meeting regarding the operating budget and the fact that our projections indicate that there will be potentially a $3 million deficit in fiscal year 12 is clearly a matter that concerns all of us. We had received a memo from senior management recommending that, in fact, we assume that we do whatever we can over the next month to reduce our costs by at least $1 million. That, of course, if you do the math and we think we have a $3 million deficit, would require us to try to get voter approval for a $2 million operating override. Now, we haven't reached that decision yet, and in fact, we're going to be working very hard over the next month to take as many reductions in costs and efficiencies as we can capture. But to your question, there are a number of very significant financial matters that are in front of us and will be in front of us, not just during this town meeting, but over the next several months for the voters to decide. And whether, for example, for the operating override, whether we can narrow that deficit more, we're certainly going to try. What the timing of it will be, whether it would be in January or be at a later date, we don't yet know. But these are all questions that we're going to all have to answer together.
Thank you. On a follow-up, Mr. Wilson. And then on the Finance Committee.
Now that we know that Google won't work for us, could you tell me who actually uses this? Because I do recall that there was a perennial line item to put data into the GIS system, and then that we didn't hear about it for a while, and the explanation was that, at least as I recall, that it wasn't being used.
Let me see now. I'm not sure if Ms. Rudolph is here tonight, because she could, yes, I see her, yes. And she would probably be the best to explain.
We can't hear you, Mrs. Krager.
I'm sorry. I believe Ms. Rudolph, the town engineer, is right in the audience, so she'll come down and answer that question.
Ms. Rudolph.
Good evening. I'm Beth Rudolph. I'm the town engineer. This GIS system is used on a daily basis by the engineering department. We use it to create a variety of maps for the town. It's the basis for our assessor's maps, which are used widely by the public. It's used to analyze data. For example, we recently the town adopted new FEMA floodplain maps, and we use this data extensively to help homeowners understand the extent of the flooding on their property. So this is used, like I said, on a daily basis by our department to support other departments within the town.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen on the Finance Committee. Ms. Krieger, you can take a seat right down front if you want. Beth, you might want to stay here too. Go ahead, sir.
I am Brian McCarthy, Precinct 4. I'm doing this as a representative of the town, not as a representative of the Finance Committee. But last year we spoke a lot at town meeting about shared services with other towns in the area, and I was curious if there's any way that we can utilize a flyover for other towns in the area and work with them to save on the costs.
Thank you, sir. The question is has anybody investigated working with other towns to try to share the cost on a flyover?
That is certainly something that we're going to hope to do. The costs that we've put forth are for the town to complete the flyover on our own, just not knowing what other communities may be interested next spring. But there certainly are plans to try to coordinate regionally on a flyover.
Gentleman in the red shirt. Yes, sir. You're the only red shirt. Yep.
Thank you. Carl Rexer from Precinct 3. So if there's the possibility that if other towns are doing this, possibly this spring or possibly in the next few years, and if we're already using the information that's there now, I'm still wondering if it is really absolutely necessary that this be done on a 10-year basis, or if we might be able to stretch it to 12 years or something like that in the frequency in which we update this information, and give us the opportunity to explore with other towns to see at what frequency they're doing it, so that we don't just spend the money this year when perhaps our neighboring towns are planning to do it in the next 2 years, and we could coordinate with them.
Okay, further, there was a gentleman. No, okay. Way up on the right there. Can't see who it is. Yes, sir. 1 second. The mic's coming.
I was wondering if any of this money is going to allow this information to be available on the internet, like that you might find with many of the other towns in the area?
The gentleman's question is that if we were to go ahead, will this information be available to the general public on the internet?
Yes, the system, actually within the next few months, we hope to have online with our current data, and it will be updated with the new data once it's available.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a vote that all these votes require a 2/3 vote. Let me name some tellers. Mr. Leland, Mr. Quill, Mr. Simpson, would you be so kind, and Mr. Johnson, all of whom are sitting on the aisle. Would you stand, raise your right hands, faithfully perform to commit your duties of the town meeting, so help you God? Thank you. Okay, that brings us, are you ready for the question, ladies and gentlemen? All those in favor of the motion that $71,000 be appropriated for updating the town's GIS system, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. I would say the no has it, but that can be challenged with necessary number of people having risen. All those in favor of the motion, please rise, and the tellers will count. $16, $15, $25. Did you count the? Yes, okay. I didn't get Mr. Quill. Okay, 16, 15. Bud? Oh, sorry, David. 10? Okay, we have 10, 16, 15. Who? 25. All those opposed, please rise. $13. 9. 22. 31. 66 having voted in the affirmative. 75 having voted in the negative, the motion fails. Ladies and gentlemen, motion number 2, and the chair recognizes James Johnson. This is on the motion, moved and seconded, that the town appropriate $30,000 for the Department of Public Works Complex Planning Needs Analysis.
Good evening and welcome. I have the honor of presenting motion 2, which is a request for $30,000 to do an analysis and study on the DPW facility. If you all can recall, several years ago, we had a study done that identified approximately $7 million worth to rehab the DPW facility. The Capital Committee, along with other members of the town staff, had decided that the $7 million was too much of a hit to take all at once. So we've decided to do that in phases. The first major phase, as you will recall, was the main DPW garage and office. We had put approximately $1 million in that. We did a roof. We did substantial HVAC heating and air conditioning throughout the DPW office and the garage and ventilation from the trucks. We did substantial electrical upgrades. We got that building so it was in very good condition. We also updated that building a little bit, if you recall, to address solar needs for the future. Our next phase a couple years ago was to address the maintenance building, which basically was the old garage tucked in the back of the building, and I'll show you later on a map. We appropriated about $320,000, which we identified to address that need. However, over the last year, staff has been working and preparing the plans, and it was determined that that building was in desperate need of repair, possibly structural issues, and that the $320,000 really wouldn't address the needs or wouldn't even address the issues to do part of the job. We had commissioned a company to look at it and evaluate it. We came to the determination that building may have some serious structural issues, primarily because it's a two-story building, garage upstairs and downstairs was the original use. Based upon that and conversations with the DPW and the capital process, we determined that it's time to really look over that initial plan and reevaluate what type of buildings we needed, where would they be located, and what would the use be. And that's why we're here tonight. We're here to ask you for some money to fully study the DPW building, BTW facility. As Doug had mentioned earlier, we're going forward in the fall for the salt sheds, but there's other buildings and other needs we have, primarily a maintenance building and substantial storage for the equipment and the trucks. If I can find it here, I'll show you the layout as it presently is. Okay. If you looked at, here's an outlay of the DPW facility. Along Lake Street and Linden Street are the areas we're actually talking about. The garage area and the main office were done over. In the very far right corner across the river is a salt shed which will be replaced next spring for next season. There is also the old park garage they use to store trucks and equipment. The maintenance building and the area adjacent to the maintenance building was the old barn of the stalls. And along Linden Street, there's basically, the wall is falling in. If you ride by there, you'll see concrete barriers preventing the wall from falling down. What we want to do in this study is to evaluate that whole general area and come back with a recommendation at town meeting. The reason we want to evaluate, we want to put the place in the best place where everybody can utilize it and get the maximum efficiency out of the building. And for this, we're asking for your support. Thank you.
Further on the question? May we have a recommendation from the Finance Committee?
The Finance Committee recommends favorable action on this motion.
Further on the question? Are you ready for the question, ladies and gentlemen? All those in favor? I'm sorry, Mr. Nowell. If I don't see you, stand up and give me a shout, folks.
One of my 5 favorite departments in town.
There's a mic.
I mean, I'm all for doing the work. I'm all for upgrading it, spending the money for this. To have someone come back and tell us we have to rip it down seems a little ridiculous to me.
Further on the question? Yes, sir. Mr. Crockett.
If I've got this right, we've spent $1 million and then another $340,000, and now we're going to do a study to tell us whether we should tear the thing down or not? Is that it? I mean, really, there's something wrong here. Thank you.
No, if you go back to my earlier statement, there was a study, I believe, done by Gale several years ago that identified that the DBW needed several, I think it was $7 million worth of improvements. The capital committee didn't feel we could afford the $7 million at once, so therefore we phased the project. The first project was $1 million, which is the main building, the garage, and the office. That's all done. The second phase was the amount of money we appropriated, approximately $320,000.
How much?
I believe it was $320 a couple years ago. And we haven't spent that money. We were, as I said, we were preparing the plans to start to do the repairs when staff determined that the building was in much worse condition, needed substantially more amount of money. So rather than just jump into it, we decided we want to evaluate it. You know, the building may very well have to come down, but if we have to knock down the building, there's some structural issues that we may or may not take part of the building down or all of it down. If we did take it down, we may want to relocate another area of the DPW facility. So it's not just a study to knock down a building, it's a study to evaluate the whole site and use it to its maximum potential.
Okay, up back, two people. Yes, sir. Guy on the left, yes, sir.
This is Diabjarius, Precinct 8. I'm interested in what the original study was designed to do. It came up with $7 million in improvements. Why wasn't there a vision associated with that document, and why can't we use at least some of the vision that must have been there to proceed without having to do a new study?
Mr. Johnson.
The initial study was several years old. It identified several $1 million. We are phasing it in, and we feel that the report has been sitting long enough on the shelf that it didn't take into the value. It didn't evaluate the current condition of the building falling down, and that's basically what's going to happen to those buildings and that wall and the stable area. If we're going to do this, we want to do it right. We want to utilize the site to its maximum capacity, like I said earlier. Thank you.
Gentleman up back was next. Yes, sir. Then Mr. Giller.
Thank you. Dennis Collette, Precinct 1. If I heard you correctly, you referenced that there is $320,000 that you're sitting on right now. And my question is, why not use $30,000 of that money for this study and then come back to us later?
Gentleman is asked the question, we have $320,000 that was appropriated that isn't being spent. Why aren't we using $30,000 of that money?
The $320,000 later town meeting will be reappropriated or asked to apply for a project. The reason we feel we're not using $30,000 of that, because it's outside the original vote of town meeting. The original vote was just to do a Pacific building and Pacific repairs. This is beyond the scope.
Is that money going to be released? The next follow-up question, are we going to release the
I believe that money eventually will be released or be used to apply towards the project if additional funds are needed.
All right, sir. There was a gentleman over here. Yes, Mr. Deering, then Mr. Giller. Mr. Deering.
Mr. Moderator, town meeting members, some months ago, the Assistant Town Manager, Mark Tuggood, asked me and two members of the EFPPC if we'd be willing to sit on the DPW complex project. And after we met a few times in reviewing what had been done and what hadn't been done, we came to the conclusion that there was a number of studies and a number of monies appropriated to do various work. But it didn't solve all the problems. If you look at the bond, part of the project was to replace the bond, but nothing else is done to the bond. So I don't know if anybody has looked at the bond, but it didn't make much sense to spend money fixing the roof and not doing the rest of the barn. The building maintenance department building has some possible structural issues to it, and there was some masonry work being proposed. Once again, did it make much sense to do that if you didn't solve the whole problem? So this $30,000 is, as Mr. Johnson said, study. It's not a study in the way you think. What we're proposing with this $30,000 is to come in and do a space and use study for the DPW. We don't know what the DPW is going to look like in 5 or 10 years, or how they use it right now. So the end product for this $30,000, excuse me, is really going to be just a map of the buildings, where they are, possible use. So maybe we don't need the building maintenance building at all. It could be just torn down and we don't spend a bunch of money doing masonry work. We really don't need the building. So the end product of what you will get is a map, and these buildings will be color-coded. Maybe we need that building. If we tear down the building maintenance and save all that money, that it could be another building on the property could be used. So that's really what this $30,000. We're not going back and asking for somebody to study what's already been studied and we already know. This is just a map or a future plan of what the DPW is. So now when we go to do things, we know exactly what we need. Thank you.
Mr. Giller. He's coming.
I guess what I'm confused is we're gonna go back and study these buildings, and at one point in time I was part of that process, but what I heard from the chairman of the Capital Planning Committee tonight is that in the next few years within the Building Stabilization Fund, we're actually gonna run out of money and have no ability to execute any building projects. So once we study this, I'm curious as to how we're gonna fund these projects.
Is there any answer up front? Mr. Johnson.
Basically, we've come to the conclusion that very large capital projects are going to need a debt exclusion override. We've told people that regarding the high school. We had mentioned it at flood mitigation, and this probably will be one of the candidates for debt exclusion override.
Yes, sir. Mr. Quill, yeah. Yes, sir, sorry.
I guess my thought is that it sounds to me like we need to get that $320,000 back. Is there a way we can do that in this town meeting, Mr. Moderator?
No, sir. They, I think, other than to voice your sentiment, I mean, when there's money like that in a reserve fund, in fact, several years ago, I think we actually went back and found $1 million that were in funds that have been appropriated and not spent.
Yes,
and,
sir.
The town meeting has to come back, has to have an article in there to bring those back. And I'm sure after this discussion that the selectmen will
Well, and that was my question. I know we did that several years ago. We went around and looked at all the accounts that had money sitting in them and brought them back. Some of them 15, 20, 25 years old. I hope we don't have to wait that long for this money to come back.
Thank you. Further up in the back again.
Diabjurius Precinct 8. What is the shelf life of this proposed study? If we needed a debt exclusion override to fund any of the renovations, I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen for 4, maybe 5 years. If we have a study now, will it be worth the money we paid for it after 4 or 5 years? We've already heard that the original study didn't take into account or couldn't take into account the degradation of the facilities. This is a plan for future use. Is 4 years too long? Will it get stale? Will we have to redo it at that time?
Mr. Johnson on the question.
As I said, and as Bob said, this is mapping out a direction for the DPW facility. It's going to address the type of buildings we need and where they would be located. So yes, once we determine the needs and the location and the type of building, it will be used, it'll be good for many years.
Are you ready for the question, ladies and gentlemen? One more speaker.
So I'm a big fan of having a plan that lays out what the needs are for the DPW as an organization and for the complex. But doesn't this department have a director, and shouldn't he know what buildings he needs and how they map to what his initiatives are? Do we need to spend $30,000?
We'll take that as a recommendation, sir, as opposed to a question. Are you ready for the question, ladies and gentlemen? All those in favor of appropriating $30,000 for the DPW complex analysis, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The noes have it. Necessary number of people having risen. All those in favor, please say aye. I'm sorry, all those in favor, please rise, and the tellers will count. This is in favor of the $30,000 appropriation. 5. 12. 18. 16. All those opposed, please rise. $12, $20, 26, 30, 51 having voted in the affirmative, 86 in the negative, the motion fails. That brings us to Article 12, ladies and gentlemen, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money for the VO Elementary School. And on that, this is sponsored by the EFPBC Board of Selectmen School Committee, Capital Planning Committee, and they jointly recommend that this be postponed to a time certain, that time being the second order of business on the 18th. And the reason for that, as mentioned before, we have to wait for the state to indicate how much money will be available. All those in favor of postponing to a time certain, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. And the same thing on the high school. It's moved and seconded that the town appropriate $1.3 million to study the high school. And that same group, not that same group, but the Capital Committee recommends postponing that to the third order of business on 11/18. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of that postponement, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Which brings us to Article 14. And ladies and gentlemen, in your book on page 22, there is a minor change to that motion. And before I recognize Doug Marmon, who is the chairman and is going to make this presentation. This is a motion which, if you look at the motion, it's moved and seconded that the town appropriate the sum of $1,455,000 for the reconstruction, repair, or replacement of the roof at the Lynch School. Down at the bottom of the motion, there is a change which I will take the liberty of putting in the original motion. If you look at the very bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines up from the bottom, it says parentheses 1. And it says the MSBA approved percentage. Cross that out, and the approved percentage is 33.95%. So the MSBA likes that percentage that they pick to be mentioned in the motion. And so the original motion had the MSBA approved percentage. Now they have made that available, and that's 33.95%. That's the only change. So that's the main motion on the table, and the chair recognizes Doug Marmon.
The flat roof at the Lynch School has been a problem for several years. Water has dripped visibly into the library, and some hidden damage has almost certainly occurred. The project is the top priority of the Capital Planning Committee because of its urgency. We need to protect the school and prevent much more costly repairs. The roof contains 43,000 square feet, was built in 1961 and recovered in 1996. Last fall, the town meeting appropriated $114,000 to investigate the problem, design the solution, and prepare cost estimates. That work was completed this summer. The EFPBC has reviewed the design and has made choices among the proposed options. The result is this appropriation request for $1,455,500. This will remove the existing roof, replace it with a new roof, enclose the skylights, and repair the exterior bluestone masonry. The roof is expected to have a useful life of 30 years. The funds for this project will be borrowed, with the debt service paid from the Building Stabilization Fund. And the project is in line to receive almost $485,000 from the state as a grant, MSBA. Thank you.
May we have a recommendation from the Finance Committee, please? Why don't you stay down front, Mr. Marmon? Yep, sorry.
The Finance Committee recommends favorable action on this motion. It represents a unique opportunity to save an existing building from further damage and to have 1/3 of that paid out of the state. I think this is a good opportunity.
Further on the question? Way up back. Yes, sir.
You know what the life expectancy of Lynch is? So if we invest in the repair of the roof, is it only going to be for a short period of time?
You want to repeat that for the folks at home?
I said, do we know what the life expectancy of Lynch School is if we're going to invest, this $1 million for a roof that will last 30 years? Are we going to be looking at repairing the school or replacing the school sometime soon?
Mr. Marmon?
This certainly is a decision to be made by the school committee, but it's our understanding that the Lynch School is expected to be remodeled at some time in the future, but not torn down and rebuilt. So this roof would be there and would be useful for at least 30 years.
Yes, sir, up front here.
I assume you mean a new roof was put on, and also what type of roof are you proposing to be put on now?
We have Gale Associates and engineers.
That's Mr. Lindbergh, I believe.
Yes, it is, Mr. Lindbergh.
From Gale Associates. Pardon? Yes. He asked us if we could repeat the question. As I understood the question, what kind of roof is going to be put on there?
The roof system will be a 2-ply modified bitumen with a mineral surface cap sheet. You asked. A single-ply rubber, like a piece of inner tube.
Could you stick around for some other articles?
I would love to, Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Crockett.
If I've got this right here now, in 1996 we last repaired the roof. I don't know what that cost, but we're having problems with it now in 2010. Let me see, how many years is that? That's 4 years. I was never good at math. 14 years. Now, I don't know whether this is a membrane type roof that was on there, but wouldn't there still be some sort of a guarantee or something on that roof that would come back and say, yeah, we'll come help you fix that? Thank you. That's a question, I think.
Yes, sir. Mr. Welch.
That roof was repaired by the original contractor as a result of a lawsuit by the town.
I'm
So,
sorry, I didn't understand.
14 years ago, that roof was repaired by the original contractor at no cost to the town as a result of an action brought by the Board of Selectmen.
Okay. Way up back, Mr. Wilson.
I recall an appropriation and work done more recently, and I don't recall the scale of it, but what was that work that was done more recently? I think within the past 3 years, 3 or 4 years, anyhow.
I'll be happy to.
Mr. Lindberg.
Phase 1 at the Lynch School included the removal and replacement of the gymnasium roof. Phase 2 included the removal and replacement of the remaining 3 sloped roofs, the old music hall, the cafeteria, and the shop roofs. This, in effect, is the last phase that will finish the entire school.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wilson. On what was spent?
On, I don't recall.
You don't recall? He does not recall, sir.
I'm sorry, I can get that information.
We can get that for you, he says, but... Yes, sir. Down front.
Oh, I think it's a 25-year, sir. 25-year labor and materials.
Thank you. Mr. Howley. Mary Ellen?
Peter Lawson, are you able to come down with that answer? Okay.
The gentleman, Mr. Lindberg, points out that the second phase roof included also the replacement of one of the fire station roofs. So it's the numbers aren't available here. Further on the question. Are you ready for the question? Yes, sir. One more roof question.
I hate to be picky about this, but first we heard the roof was good for 30 years. Now we're told it's only warranted to 25. So how do we get the extra 5 years?
Go ahead. The question is, how do we get the, he says we heard that the warranty would be for 25 years. How do we get 30 years warranty?
Maintenance. You have to maintain anything. You can't just put it up there and ignore it. It's like the oil in your car. It's a well put together roof. It resists vandalism. It'll provide slope to drain to get the water off your roof. Properly designed, properly installed, properly maintained, it should last 30 years.
Are you ready for the question, ladies and gentlemen? The question comes, 2/3 vote required, that the town appropriate the sum of $1,455,500 for the roof. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. The chair declares it obviously more than a 2/3 vote. Thank you very much, Mr. Lindberg. Okay, Article 15, to see if the town will accept or enact as a bylaw the stretch code, energy code. And we have a motion in your book on page 23. And that motion lacks some specificity. And I talked to the planning board, and so they have a revised motion. And the revised motion does what they said, but we need the language to be improved. And it's moved and seconded that the town meeting adopt the Appendix AA to the State Building Code called Stretch Energy Code. That is the motion, and that's been moved and seconded, and the chair recognizes Mr. Bottaro.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, members of town meeting. Mr. Moderator, I think there's been some, reason to want to postpone this to November 18th, and I'll ask Mr. Holly to explain the circumstances.
Mr. Berman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. First of all, it came to our attention this evening that we've probably been remiss in not getting a copy of the stretch code to the members of the town meeting, so we will be mailing that out to you, so you've had a chance to consider that. The Commonwealth passed something called the Green Communities Act in 2008, and we have a state building code, and a local option is to adopt the stretch code, which is an energy code which is optional community by community. If a community adopts that code, which are more stringent standards for building and renovation within that community, then the community is eligible for green community funding. There are millions of dollars that the Commonwealth is giving out only to those communities that have adopted it. We're moving to postpone this to the 18th. We'll be doing that mailing. We also have asked Town Council to take a look at the effect of the stretch code, if any, on permits and approvals already issued by the ZBA and the Planning Board. Would the adoption of this affect any of those approvals that have not been implemented as yet? And this is, and let me just review my notes here, and I think that's it. So that's why we're moving for postponement to the 18th.
Mr. Berman, excuse me just a second. I have to interrupt to discuss something with the town clerk. Did you mention the fact of the having the Committee on Rules take a look at this?
We'll do that. We don't think we have to, Mr. Moderator, because it is not a bylaw.
Yeah, I just suggest if you look at the charter, it says that the government regulations will and should review the bylaws. At that time, they probably may or may not have known that we were shifting into the state building code. I think the theory behind it is, I looked this up today as I explained to Mr. Howley. This is a 23-page single-spaced document that has sections that are very analogous to the recodification that we went through, and that has never, to my knowledge, been reviewed paragraph by paragraph by anybody in this room. And so I think it's important that we do that, and it seems that the right place to have it done is the Committee on Rules.
Well, I don't think we have an objection to making that request. It's not a bylaw, but there's no reason not to have it.
Excuse me, it is a bylaw because we adopted, in 1975, we adopted the state building code as a bylaw of this town. It's a question, you're correct that it wasn't specifically addressed, but that document needs to be reviewed by somebody, and it should be somebody in a formal position. And I just suggest that it be done, that's all.
We're not in disagreement.
Good.
And we have until the 18th, and we thank you for your suggestion.
Good. So the question is, it's moved and seconded that we postpone Article 15 to the fourth order of business on the 18th. All those in favor, please. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Beg your pardon. Take your time.
My name is Ginny Reeder. I'm Precinct 5. I have wanted to talk about the Green Communities the Green Communities Act since last spring town meeting, and I just want to take 1 minute right now to tell you guys why I'm concerned. And I know we're not going to talk about this again probably until the 18th, but I don't know if anybody remembers last spring when we were passing the talking about the siting of the solar array at the transfer station, at the parking lot area next to the transfer station. And it was very late, extremely late. And right at the end of this conversation, when everybody was really tired, somebody stood up and said, I'm really concerned because the recycling plan, the plan for how we recycle our everything, hasn't been finalized, and I'm concerned that we're taking away, without even having implemented the plan to how the transfer station is going to be most effective to our community, that we're going to give away a lot of the space around there. And I think people were too tired or whatever, but we approved the plan to put in the solar array, and I feel that we did it, and we're going to do this potentially this stretch code because we're really excited about getting the $150,000 grants from the state. I just am concerned that we are rushing ahead to do this one thing, and I keep thinking, I go back to the transfer station and I think, could we have made or saved more money if we had a more efficient transfer station, if we had a better recycling center, if we had used our space more effectively? Could we be using that money? I think the solar arrays were going to make us $50,000 a year, and I couldn't help but think, well, what if we had a better transfer station? What if we could get people to recycle more? Maybe we could actually get that money in a different way. And so I guess I just wanted to share with everybody my concern that we are rushing down this road to try to pass these things in order to become a green certified community. I think it's great that we try to do things that are make sense for the town of Winchester. I just am not sure this is the way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You ready for the question, ladies and gentlemen? It's moved and seconded that we postpone this article to a time certain, the fourth order of business on the 18th. Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, I just have a quick question. If I understood it, we're postponing so we can have time to review some information. Is that correct?
I believe that's right. I think what they said is they were going to send, first of all, a copy of the stretch code, which you do not have, unless you...
Okay, and does that information fall under the 7-day rule? I don't think we would get it within 7 days of the 18th.
No, I would say no. I'd say that the 7-day rule applies to the motion, and but I think in normal course of things, you should have had it 7 days before. There should be no problem getting that out. They could get that out tomorrow. It's 22 pages long. They've got a copy, and I think that if the selectmen would send that out tomorrow, even though it may not have the complete package, we'll make sure that you get that. Is that all right?
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. You ready for the question, ladies and gentlemen, on postponing to a time certain? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. That brings us, ladies and gentlemen, to Article 16. To see if the town will vote to amend Chapter 13 of the Code of Bylaws, Wetlands. And the Conservation Commission can come on down. I would like to make a correction for you. If you would look on page 27 of your motion book, there's an error in the printing of this. If you look at the Article 16, the intention was to change 7.5, and if you look right up at the top, right under Article 16, it says 7.5, the Commission shall issue its decision in writing within 21 days of the close of the public hearing. That's what it says now. They want to change that, except for those applications covered by 7.6 below. And they forgot to put that phrase in their motion. So I'm going to read the revised motion. It's moved and seconded that the town vote to amend Chapter 13 of the Code of Bylaws, Wetlands, by amending 7.5 to read as follows, and then it reads just like it does up on the top paragraph. and adding section 7.6 to read as follows, and it reads exactly as 7.6 is in the motion. It's a minor change, but they forgot the most important paragraph to put it into the motion, and that was I believe to be a typo. Having said that, the chair recognizes the Conservation Commission. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The Conservation Commission recommends favorable approval of this motion. It really is a Scribner's error to correct a misstatement of the motion at the Springtown meeting. So, thank you.
Do you want to comment on why we're doing this?
We're doing this to comply with the requirements of the state for funding for the solar array program, which requires a permit by right within a year of the application. So it requires us to make a decision within a year of the submittal of a completed application. And this is pretty much, most of our applications are completed unless it's a really major project within a couple of weeks. Probably the longest one we've had in the past 2 or 3 years has been the hospital application, which took us a better part of 7 months. But it's very typical for us to make a decision within 2 or 3 meetings and then to issue our decision within 21 days thereafter. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, sir. Are you ready for the question, ladies and gentlemen? Question comes on the main motion. This is a majority vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, that takes us to Articles 17 and 18, and they're the beginning of a series of zoning articles. And we usually take a recess at 9, and it's now 10 minutes to 9. And I recommend that we take a recess right now, and then we'll come back all fresh to do the zoning at 9:05. Meeting will be recessed for 15 minutes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Not sure what we're doing right there, but welcome back. You are watching the live second session of Winchester's Fall Town Meeting. I'm Alan Iden. Town meeting's in recess right now, so let's see what we've covered so far this evening in the little over an hour since town meeting began at 7:30. We opened up with Article 10 on the warrant. Again, this is the second session. We've gone through several articles in the first session, which was last Thursday. So we started out with Article 10, which is a report from the Capital Planning Committee. We heard from the chairman of that committee, Doug Marmon. He said the capital plan for this year is much more, in his words, much more ambitious than many other years and will require a tax override to complete. He mentioned the couple of the articles were the most expensive one being the reconstruction of the Vincent Owen School, of which the Commonwealth of Massachusetts will pay about a third. And also, it's also expected to pay about a third of a study for the Winchester High School's future. There's $1.5 million for a Lynch School roof, again, getting about a 1/3 reimbursement from the state. We heard about the DPW buildings that are in much worse shape than originally thought. $71,000 requested for a geographic information system update, a flyover of the town. Other projects include improvements for disability access, flood mitigation, replacement of the scale house at the transfer station, improvements to roads and sidewalks in conjunction with the state's Chapter 90 funds, a new trash hauler trailer for the transfer station, and various water and sewer projects around the town. He said the Building Stabilization Fund will, because of so many projects in the pipeline here, will be drawn down to zero and will have no funds for about 5 years, from 2015 to 2020, which he said was a very dangerous situation for the town. But he also finished by saying it was a small price to pay, in his words, for if the two school projects, the reconstruction of Vincent Owen and a major study on the high school, were accomplished. Now, that article passed. All that was an article to receive the report, accept the report. Article 11 was the first of two appropriations from these capital planning. The first one was for $71,000 for a geographical information system update. Basically, it was a flyover of the town to be conducted next spring to update the program. The last time it was done was 10 years ago, apparently, and this was a 10-year update. Well, there was some substantial discussion about whether that was necessary in these tough times, and by a vote of 66 to 75, that $71,000 appropriation was struck down. The next one was a request for $30,000 to study the DPW facility and analyze its needs. It said a prior study showed $7 million worth of needs to this complex over on Lake Street. And some work has been done. The offices and some of the garages were replaced a few years ago. The cost of about $1 million, the garage and the main office. But during the process, they discovered more deterioration than they previously thought, as we heard from Selectman Jim Johnson. Well, once again, by a vote of 51 to 86, town meeting failed to appropriate that $30,000. So those two motions both went down on Article 11. Article 12 was the Vincent Owen School article. That has been postponed until the next session on the 18th, because the state will be deciding on the 17th the amount of the reimbursement for that project. So that's obviously critical to the passage of the article. Article 13 also postponed, which was $1.3 million for a feasibility study of the Winchester High School. Again, postponed till the third order of business on the 18th of November. Article 14, $455,500 to replace the Lynch School roof. We heard once again from Doug Marmon from Capital Planning. He said it was the top priority of the Capital Planning Committee. They said the building was built in 1961. The roof was repaired in 1996, some 14 years ago. According to Town Council, it was repaired as a warranty item from the original roof. Again, they're expecting the state to pay $485,000, or about a third of the cost of this roof replacement, with a life of 30 years. Well, town meeting, apparently not in the mood to spend small amounts of money, came forward and passed unanimously the appropriation for the Lynch School roof. The next article, Article 15, was for the adoption of a so-called stretch energy code provision in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts building code. And we heard from Roger Berman from the Board of Selectmen that this option, it's a local option to accept this, this more stringent part of the state building code, but it does make community eligible for state aid for projects. However, this article was postponed because it was discovered that the stretch code details, which apparently is a 23-page code, had not been sent out to town meeting members. So they're going to send that out in the next couple of days. That was postponed till the fourth item of business on the 18th. A busy session coming up on the 18th. And Article 16, to amend the wetlands bylaws. We heard from the Conservation Commission that was a quote-unquote Scribner's error in there, and it needed to be amended to comply with the state rules on solar energy. This was regarding the solar array to be built at the transfer station. So that's Article 16. That was passed. Again, just a correction. And that brings us into the zoning articles. Article 18 and 20, 18, 19, and 20 are zoning articles, and the moderator suggested that's going to be an interesting debate. So that is going to be held until 5 minutes after 9, at which time town meeting will reconvene. We will continue our live coverage at that time, and I'll be back with a wrap-up at approximately 10:30.
And then there's an Article 19 right after that. That's on parking, and that's sponsored by a gentleman by the name of John Sullivan. And that should move very quickly. And then Article 20, which is the gross floor area, and 21, which are the height of the buildings, the planning board is going to indefinitely postpone, recommend indefinite postponement on those right away. So it appears to me that we should be able to get through Article 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22 to 26 before the end of the evening for sure. And then we'll make a decision at the end of the evening when the next meeting is. And if we're successful in getting through 26, then the next meeting would not be on Thursday because it's a holiday, and it would not be on Monday because we really don't need to meet. We'd be able to finish the meeting on the 18th. So progress in the next hour will determine when we're going to meet, but I suspect it's going to be the next meeting will be the 18th. So having said that, we turn to Article 17 to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw 355. And the chair recognizes Mr. Johnson.
Good evening once again, and thank you. I would like to move for indefinite postponement on Article 17. Originally, when Article 17 was drafted, I believe it would redress the requirement of a special permit imposed by new bylaw. However, under further investigation with Town Council and Land Council, it was determined that it could not be done here because that section was removed under recodification. So I would ask for indefinite postponement on 17.
Planning board have any problem with that, sir? Planning board's indicating they agree. All those in favor of indefinite postponement, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaws